Amara, an 18-year-old black African girl, is walking home with her dog, Max, on a quiet street. The sun is setting and the air feels still. She hums softly, her mind on the school day she just had. Suddenly, she hears footsteps behind her. A group of men is following her, whispering and laughing. Amara keeps walking, clutching Max's leash tightly. The men start shouting racist comments at her, their voices getting louder. Amara quickens her pace, her heart pounding, but the men move faster and block her path. One of them steps closer, his face twisted with anger. Before Amara can react, Max growls fiercely, baring his teeth. The men hesitate, unsure what to do. Amara looks down at Max, her loyal dog, and realizes he's ready to protect her no matter what. Amara grew up in a small town, always dreaming of a better life. She faced many challenges because of her race, but she never let that stop her. Amara was a kind and hardworking girl, always doing her best at school. Her parents had always taught her to stand strong and never back down from injustice. When she was 16, Amara decided to leave her hometown and move to the city to attend college. She wanted to build a future for herself, free from the limitations of her small town. One day, while volunteering at a local animal shelter, she met Max, a large, strong dog with sad eyes. Max had been abandoned and needed a home. Despite his rough past, Amara saw something in him. They instantly formed a bond. She adopted him, and they became inseparable. Max was more than just a dog to Amara. He was her protector, her companion, and her closest friend. Together, they faced the struggles of living in a big city, but they made it work. Max gave Amara a sense of security, and she knew no matter what, he would always have her back. Max wasn't just any ordinary dog. Before Amara adopted him, Max had a very different life. He had been a police dog, trained to help officers catch criminals and protect the community. Max had served in dangerous situations, working with his handler to keep the streets safe. He had been highly trained to follow commands, track suspects, and even fight when necessary. But after an injury during a mission, Max was retired from active duty. The police force couldn't use him anymore, so they sent him to an animal shelter. When Amara first met Max, she didn't know about his past. All she knew was that he was a big, strong dog who seemed to have a calm and gentle nature. He was quiet and loving, and Amara instantly felt a connection with him. She took him home, and they quickly became best friends. Max adjusted well to his new life, but sometimes his past training would surface. He would react strongly to loud noises or sudden movements, as if he was still on duty. Amara didn't understand why Max would sometimes growl or stand alert when there was no danger. She thought he was just protective, but little did she know, his police training was always with him, ready to kick in when needed. Max's past was a secret, one that would soon reveal itself in a way neither of them could have imagined. As Amara and Max continued walking down the street, the group of men grew bolder. They shouted louder, making cruel jokes and calling her names. Amara tried to ignore them, but they kept getting closer. The men were blocking her path now, their faces full of hate. One of them, the leader, stepped forward with a sneer. "What are you doing here, girl?" he taunted, looking her up and down. Amara felt a chill run down her spine, but she kept her head high and didn't say anything. She clutched Max's leash tightly, hoping to stay calm. The leader of the group laughed, taking another step toward her. "You don't belong here," he spat, grabbing Amara's arm. Max, who had been walking quietly beside her, suddenly froze. His eyes locked onto the man, and his body tensed. Amara could feel the change in him. Max was ready to protect her. The man reached out to push Amara, but before he could touch her, Max lunged forward, his teeth bared. With a powerful growl, Max knocked the man to the ground, pinning him with ease. The other men froze in shock, unsure of what to do. Amara stepped back, her heart racing. She had never seen Max act like this before. He was calm but strong, protecting her from harm. The men started to yell and try to pull Max off, but Max wasn't letting go. His training kicked in, and he was determined to keep Amara safe. One of the men shouted, "Get off her dog!" But Max growled louder, making them back away. The situation quickly became tense, with the men realizing they were no match for Max's strength and skill.
Max held his ground, and the men had no choice but to flee, running down the street in fear. Amara stood there, her body shaking, not sure what had just happened. She had never imagined that Max's past would come alive in such a way. But in that moment, she knew that Max was more than just her companion. He was her protector. The news of what happened spread quickly through the neighborhood. People who had seen the confrontation started talking about it. Some were amazed by how quickly Max had acted to protect Amara. Word reached the local news, and soon the story was everywhere. The community was shocked by the racist behavior of the men, but they were also impressed by Max's courage. Many people who had witnessed the event came forward to share what they had seen. They praised Amara for staying calm, but they were in awe of Max. Soon, the support for Amara and Max began to grow. Neighbors who had never spoken to her before came to her house to show their appreciation. Some brought gifts for Max. Others offered words of encouragement. It wasn't just about the attack anymore. It was about standing up against hate and violence. People who had once ignored Amara now greeted her with kindness and respect. Max became a local hero, a symbol of protection and bravery. The authorities took the incident seriously. They began investigating the men who had attacked Amara, and it wasn't long before they were caught. The community, now united, stood strong against the racism that had nearly torn them apart. Amara felt a mix of emotions, relief that the men were being held accountable, and gratitude for the support she had received. She had been alone when the attack happened, but now she was surrounded by a community that cared for her. With Max by her side, Amara knew she was no longer alone in facing the world. Amara and Max's bond grew stronger than ever after the confrontation. Max had always been more than just a pet to her, but after the incident, she realized how deeply connected they truly were. Every time Amara looked at Max, she saw not just the loyal dog she had adopted, but the brave protector who had saved her from harm. He wasn't just a dog, he was her family. Max stayed by her side through everything, his calming presence helping her heal from the fear and shock of what had happened. Amara started to spend even more time with Max, taking him on longer walks and playing with him in the park. She noticed that Max seemed more relaxed now, as if he knew he had done his job in protecting her. Whenever they were together, Max would rest his head on her lap, and she would pet him, feeling a sense of peace. They had been through a lot together, and in many ways, they understood each other without saying a word. Amara also started to learn more about Max's past as a police dog. She spoke to people who had known him before she adopted him, and they told her about his training and the many dangerous situations he had faced. She was amazed by how much strength and courage Max had, and it made her love him even more. Max had protected her in a way she couldn't have imagined, and now she knew she would always be there for him, just as he was there for her. Together, they were a team, ready to face whatever challenges the world might throw their way. In the days that followed, Amara found herself reflecting on everything that had happened. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for Max, who had not only been a loyal companion, but also her protector when she needed it most. The attack by the racist men had shaken her, but it had also shown her the strength she had within herself and the incredible bond she shared with Max. With the support of her community, she felt a renewed sense of hope and belonging. Amara realized that no matter how hard life might get, she would always have Max by her side. His love and loyalty had given her the courage to stand tall, even in the face of hate. She knew she wasn't alone anymore. The emotional weight of the attack started to lift, replaced by a feeling of peace and healing. Amara also felt proud of how the community had come together to stand against racism. It gave her hope that change was possible and that kindness and unity could always overcome hate. As Amara looked down at Max, resting peacefully beside her, she smiled. She knew their journey together wasn't over. It had only just begun. They would continue to face the world together, side by side, stronger than ever.